My goal is to do that in the classroom and in my faculty work, by demonstrating maybe some strategies that I know from counseling profession, active listening, using I statements, reflecting on what people say, allowing some silence sometimes just to let the information sink in, and often checking back to see if what I've heard is what they communicated, which helps for a more successful dialogue, because as a counselor, I know sometimes what we hear and what people say or intend to say could be different. So never assuming that I'm correct and the other person is incorrect. It's a good strategy that I try to model to my students and colleagues.
For me, I do that by joining different organizations, specifically Diversity Fair Educators, because as a leader, I knew that I was going to have to deal with different people, different attitudes, different backgrounds, and just a plethora of other differences that may be encountered with the people who join my organizations. So I knew that I needed to have a balance on how to deal with them, how to put my differences to the back and allow them and their opinions to shine. Just because we don't have the same opinion does not mean they're not right. And so for me, it just was a humility check on how to be a better leader and how to grow a program that's bigger than myself, and that will allow attraction to different types of people, because diversity makes things better and it builds inclusion.
For me specifically, like I mentioned, I was fortunate to be part of the Servant Leadership Program, and that program has allowed me to have a look into my community, to have a look into what's going on around me, the settings outside of the academic kind of atmosphere. I think a lot of the times as college students, we tend to focus on resumes, GPA applications, and things of that nature. But the reality is that what we're doing here is kind of like a training ground to use whatever we learn, the tools, techniques, to then implement it outside of the actual institution. So for me individually, because of the Servant Leadership Program, I've just been able to be hands-on within my own community. I wasn't closed off. I wasn't sheltered. I got to see actual need. I got to see where I can implement myself. I got to use what CSU taught me in certain areas and different places of employment by volunteering, or depending on any organization that I was in. I was able to physically contribute. I was able to physically be a part of something. So that was something where it allowed me to kind of get into a running start before I even graduated.
I can introduce myself and have different conversations, because as most of you do not know that, I'm a substitute teacher in the Muskogee County School District. So I introduce myself to others who I may not have met in a class that I've previously subbed before.
So I am an immigrant. When I first came to the US, I felt being an outcast. So I understand everybody wants to be heard and listened to. So when I engage into the conversations with others, I always keep myself open-minded and show the respect to others. Also learn how to handle and receive feedback and criticism from others. And also I think it's important to recognize that the person who we're talking to are really care for who I am and what I'm doing, or sometimes the criticism are just hateful. And by recognizing that and understand and ask a lot of questions, a lot of why questions, why people think that way, why people think this way, it's really help me to be open-minded and respect the cultural differences and respect other perspectives.